And we're live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another Go Live. This is Saria from Aladdin and Saria, hosting another business chat today. But I would love first to start by introducing myself to the new followers on our page. So if you are a new follower, this is Saria from Aladdin and Saria. We run this business, me and my husband, Aladdin. And I am a mom of three kids. I work as a full-time school office administrator here in Toronto. And we started, me and my husband, this business. It's been a year and a couple months now. And it's been a life-changing business for us. And that's why we love to come from time to time and host those kind of business chat with beautiful partners and successful entrepreneurs from our business community to educate you more actually about what we're doing, what is this business about, so you get to hear it from people who are experiencing this digital business. And I have a very special guest today, a successful entrepreneur from our business community, who started his business as well. He's gonna tell us how long he's been in this business, and actually switched from public speaking to being a successful entrepreneur online. So please help me welcome Raza Aziz from Toronto. Hi, Raza. What a pleasure to have you today.
Sorry, I had muted myself.
No, I can hear you.
Usually when you get an introduction like this as a speaker, there's like music goes off and then you kind of come running, yay. But now we're on the online space. It is fun. It is fun. It's good to be here, Saria. And it's finally
my pleasure.
Some time. Yeah.
It's my pleasure, Raza, to have you here on my page, and I'm pretty sure that you're gonna share valuable information today with our audience. But let us first start, Raza. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who's Raza Aziz? Your professional background, how you encountered this online space, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a journey. Well, let me start with the introduction. I live here in Toronto, Canada, with my wife and my baby girl. You might see her. She's not so much of a baby now. She's 12 years old. So you might see my daughter behind me and the rabbit kind of go flying here and there. These are the family members here. I've lived in Canada for about 32 years now. My parents are originally from Pakistan, and I was born in the Middle East in Kuwait. My dad was working over there, and I started my education over there and all that stuff. So we actually came to Canada during the Gulf War when that started back in the 90s, 1991. At that time. So my journey, I mean, after graduating from college here, I started working in the corporate world, and I did my 13 years in the corporate company here in the Toronto area. And then I felt like I knew everything, so I decided to become an entrepreneur. And that's when I fell flat on my face, because I was not ready to do any business, to run any business or anything like that. It requires a different set of skills than being an employee. So that was through many trials and tribulations and painfully hitting my head in the wall many times. Finally, I think I read somewhere or somebody had told me this, and they said, Raza, whatever you want to accomplish, there's somebody out there who has already done what you want to do. And I thought to myself, I'm like, oh, that kind of makes sense, because sometimes we feel like our goals are just our own, our circumstances are our own. So that's where I, seeked out a mentor. I was invited to a seminar by a friend of mine, and I wasn't doing anything that weekend. So this friend of mine dragged me, and I absolutely fell in love with the speaker. I mean, he was doing such a great job of teaching and inspiring and selling. And I'm like, I turned to my friend and I said, you know what, I would like to do that one day. And a year from that point onwards, I was delivering that same seminar that that man was doing. So I actually got him as a mentor, and he taught me the world of speaking, the business of speaking, and had me travel around the world. And so that was all fun until we hit the pandemic, of course.
Yeah.
When March
The big slap.
2020, I remember, yeah. So March 2020, I was actually speaking in California, and I was in LA, and I came back, and that was it. That was the last stage I ever spoke at. Just like everybody else, I too have a family here. I got some obligations, things that we want to do. We have very aggressive goals as a family to invest in our future, our daughter's future, plus supporting our parents, all that kind of stuff is there. So I really had to figure out my next game. So was I thinking about online business? Actually, no. I was actually thinking of buying an existing business. I was looking at accounting firms, laundromats, car washes, all of that stuff. And the reason I was looking for that is because there was already a system in place. There was already a business in place. There was already personnel in place. So it was already moving. I just wanted to buy it. And to me, I'm a very systems guy, because I believe if you can put systems and people in place, then you can have the time freedom that you look for. If the systems are doing the work. Most of us are not educated in having these systems and people in place. So that was my journey. So that's what was happening in April, May, June of 2020. And one fine day, while I was just doing a research on laundromats, right, I was trying to understand the industry, an ad popped up and this couple talked to me about a possibility of an online business. And I'm like, oh, I never thought about it, but it makes sense, because anybody or any organization that has figured out this whole online thing was thriving. So I'm like,
correct.
Correct. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
So that's how the introduction happened, and I fell into it, and I absolutely fell in love with the system. The way I progressed through and till the end conversation that I had with the coach, I absolutely enjoyed going through this. I'm like, you know what? I need a piece of this. So that's how I
can
came
hear you.
into the business.
Yeah, I can hear you, and I can really resonate with what you were saying. We, Raza, come also from originally from Lebanon, and in Lebanon we lived actually a hard situation during the war and everything. And what we've learned growing up, that the best time to start any business is during downturns. This is where people were really getting rich, and this were really opening a new chapter of their life, right? And when the pandemic started, me and Aladdin, we were looking also to start something. We said we were seeing those business getting out of the market, and the only presence was for the online businesses. And we said, okay, it's a downturn, it's a pandemic, and I believe there's a lot of hunger in the market, and this is the best time to start something. And we did the research, and we were looking actually for online business, because we come from a brick and mortar business. We had our business overseas in China before immigrating to Canada, and when we came here, we thought that we were gonna be capable to do the transition and to restart an offline business. And we were shocked by learning about the overhead here and the competition and the little margin of profit for any business plan that we came across. So we wanted, and we had also to sacrifice our business when we immigrate, right? So we thought to ourselves, if we're gonna start something now, let's do it online, because if for any reason we have to move again, we don't want to sacrifice again what we're establishing, right? And then this online business we came across another exactly like you've mentioned, and we started to explore this beautiful system built for us, because we also come from a zero experience in the digital space, and we had to start from scratch, and we needed this mentorship and this coaching and this system built for us, as specifically that we work full-time, and we needed something that would be possible to be established while we were still in our current employment. So Raza, talking about this business, let's talk about the training a little bit. How did you find the training? Would you call it easy? Would you call it simple? How was your experience?
That's interesting that you chose those two words, easy and simple,
Yeah.
because one of the things that I never like, I try not to use in my vocabulary is easy. To me, I feel like easy is a matter of perspective. Something that
Yeah.
is easy for me is not easy for you. So to me, I never call it easy, but I'll tell you this, it's simple. It is very simple. And going through the training, and by the way, I mean, as much of elaborate experience I have from the past, I have never run an online business before. I've never, built out sales funnels and wrote email sequences and all of that stuff. I have known of the concept. I have talked about the concepts, but I've never done it. So for me, the online training was absolutely beautiful. That it was a matter of just playing the video and implementing, and that's why I call it. It's really a simple way to move forward for anybody who really, I say this with an asterisk on top of this. You don't really need experience to run this business, but you do need to have some foundational elements, of using a mouse and keyboard and computer and all that stuff. You need some basic foundation for you to be able to do it, but you don't need to be a master of all things social media or online advertising. The training is very comprehensive. As a matter of fact, one of the best in the industry that I have ever seen. I know of the trainings out there on social media and online advertising, and people pay thousands of dollars just for training courses. So for having this over here, and as you know already, Zaria, it is updated constantly. Because social media platforms and online digital platforms, they change so fast. So to be able to keep up with it, that is a bonus in itself.
Yeah. And you know what, Raza, I have a bachelor degree in marketing and management. And I remember it took me 4 years at the university, to learn those marketing strategy, following the billboards, the advertisement on the television, the old way of marketing. And I would tell you what I've learned in this training regarding the marketing part. Like, it would take me like years or like in the university, and I would not be capable to be up to date as it is in our training. And as you mentioned, if you look into any course, you won't find something less than a couple $1,000s, to learn how to leverage the social media platform. And this is all it's covered in a very up-to-date training. We were like, I myself, when we jumped in, we couldn't believe that it was covered for just being member of this community, right? So it's great to have this.
Saria, there are two concepts. You can do learning for the sake of learning. That's one learning.
Yeah.
And that learning, if you learn something new and you never apply it, it's gone. It was a waste of time.
Yeah.
In this day and age, you want to learn for application. And that means that whatever it is that you're doing, this is not a 5-year degree that you're doing. And when you come out, it might be irrelevant by the time you come out. Sometimes that even happens. This is about you learning something and applying immediately. So not only does it stick, it is also much more satisfying because you have a new skill that you never had before. So absolutely.
And you can receive the outcome right away. You have the skills and you can see the outcome right away. It's very pleasant. Raza, you know what? I was coming across one of your interview with another business partners, and something triggered my curiosity. I wanted to ask you about it today. I remember like maybe a couple years ago, my son, we were having a discussion, about the system, how it's broken, and how schools, he's coming to me, Mom, schools are just teaching us how to, graduate and getting a job, and, just working like a robot from 9 to 5 to trade our time for money. And I was like, not believing a 14 years old talking to me like this. And it was kind of slap on my face. And I was really thinking about his words yet. And comparing to what I'm going through every single day, running after this 9 to 5 and trading my time for money to be hourly paid, and the maximum I can do in a day is 24/7. So that was a point in my life where I was starting to think in a different way. And then he started giving me an example of, successful entrepreneurs, or even, youth people on social media or YouTubers or something like what they're being capable to accomplish. And
Yeah.
this is, I started to shift my mindset, and I started to read a little bit, and I start to think in a different way and dig for a solution. And I know that I came across one of your interview, and you were mentioning that you came across for Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that was also, the
Turning
switch
point.
in your life. Yeah. Can
It
you tell
was.
us a little bit about that?
Sorry, I come from the old school, old thought. You go to school, you work hard, you get good grades. Although my grades were a little questionable, but ultimately get a job and you stay there as long as you can, so that you can get retirement from it and get the pension and all that. That's the mindset that I come from. Now, as soon when I so I did that, got a decent job at a good company, and then I got married. And when we got married, it just felt like both my wife and I, we were just working. That's all we were doing. We would wake up in the morning, have breakfast, go to work, and then we come back and then have dinner and go to sleep and then do it over again. Weekend comes by, we do chores and everything like that. After a few months of this, and all I really remember just a click, door opening and door closing, door opening, door closing. And that's just what the routine was. And I thought to myself, I'm like, who sold me this plan? Because this is not, I don't want to live like this. Like that's what everybody's doing, but I don't want to do that. And so I started poking around. I started asking questions. So one of my friends, he said to me, he's like, I haven't read this book, but this looks like the kind of book you should read. I'm like, all right. And he gave me that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I'll tell you, that was probably the first ever book or a business book that I ever read. And it was a book that I read the fastest. I think I finished in a week's time or something like that. And it showed me a whole new world. And Robert Kiyosaki talked about ideas like, instead of getting a job for the sake of job, get a job to learn the skills that you need in order to do things out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
And that book was the cornerstone of everything that has happened to me since then. The walls that I've hit, the successes I've had, the failures I've had, all of that stuff. But the school system is a thing point for me. I can go off and we can keep talking about it. But here's the reality: the world has changed.
Yeah.
Period. It had been changing, and it has changed. The school system has not changed.
Correct.
And it's the same system. Right. It is the same system. So these days, if you tell somebody that nobody makes money on social media, that's not true. I know a lot of, I was just yesterday, I came across a TikTok of this guy who's, 25 or something like that. And he's built a good TikTok following, and he's a real estate investor. And he's connected with contractors, real estate investors, money lenders, all of that stuff through TikTok.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So just because we don't know how it operates does not mean that it doesn't work. I think what is the biggest thing that is needed these days is an open mind. And that open mind can allow us to, even if we don't understand something, entertaining the idea that, okay, there might be a possibility that
to learn new skills.
Something.
Yeah, open mind to learn new skills.
And this is the very reason why in today's day and age, I think having mentors who can teach you a very specific skill or very specific strategy, very specific system, whatever it is the fastest way in getting the kind of results that you want. Because you could go to school and get a digital marketing degree, but I bet you that person does not have half the knowledge that you have, that this team has, just because they are learning and applying it.
And the practical experience.
Sometimes you don't even need all this knowledge. You just need this very specific thing.
Exactly.
To actually make it work.
Yeah. That's very. Actually, I think you answered part of my next question. I wanted to ask you when we hear it a lot from our business community. Yes, this business is for anyone can learn this business, but this business is not for everyone. What does that mean? And why we are encouraging people? Why we are inviting people? What is this business about? Why we are, we always promote this opportunity on our business pages. Why?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it is not for anybody can do it, but it is not for everyone. It takes a certain kind of person to go against the norm. This is
Yeah,
not normal. This is
yeah,
not
yeah,
normal. I mean,
yeah.
how dare you, Saria, think about that you can do an online business without any prior experience and all of that stuff and no background in it. You go in there. It takes guts to be able to go in this arena.
Yeah, and the
And I'm
will.
not saying it. I'm not saying you're not going to have fear. Believe me, there is fear. I mean, fear of the
That's
unknown.
normal.
You know, sure. What if it doesn't work? What if it does work? Right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really a matter of perspective and looking at that. So no, it's not for everybody. And why we invite people is for them to explore whether this is for them,
Mhm.
whether they are open enough to going through the process. Believe me, the going through the process in itself is a way for them to see whether they're a right fit and for us to see whether they're a right fit to work with us,
Yeah,
because this
definitely.
is not a, we're not hiring anybody or anything like that. People will
Mhm.
operate this independently.
Mhm.
So I think inviting people to explore whether this is for them, it gives them an opportunity to check it out and gives us an opportunity to check it out as well.
Definitely.
You have to be coachable. You
Exactly.
because if I'm serving as a mentor to somebody, then I am expecting them to follow the plan,
Yeah.
not waver off and do their own thing. That's why you call somebody a mentor. If
Yeah.
you truly, sorry, if somebody calls you a mentor, I mean, I would expect them to put blinders on and do as you tell them to do, period.
Yeah.
Not think about it. Let me just think about what Saria said. No, it's not
Yeah.
about thinking. Having mentors actually can help you stop thinking.
Yeah. 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 Taking the
I,
shortcut, kind of,
it is the
because
shortcut. I mean,
they've been in this before you. They are the experiment people to help you. And
yeah,
as previously we mentioned, Raza, it is a simple business, but it's not for anyone. Anything can be simple. I'm not a runner, right? You can show me the starting point and the end point and tell me go do like 40 kilometers. I'm gonna look at you. I'm like, yeah, I see the starting point and the end point, but I cannot. I'm not a runner. It takes practice. It takes the will for me to train
that's
myself
right.
to do those 40 kilometers, right? Same here. You can see the starting point and the ending point, but you have to be coachable. You have to have the will. You have to have the open mind to learn the new skills and to work on your personal development in order to succeed, right?
That is correct.
Raza,
Absolutely true.
I'm really enjoying, this conversation. I wanted to ask you, coming from like I explored being a business owner and being employed, right? I work in a school as a school office administrator, and I'm hourly paid. And then I had my own business, and I know if I want to trade time for money, what's the income, and if I'm my own boss, what I can make in less amount of hours. So if I will ask you, comparing your revenue from being a public speaker, not mentioning numbers, but just uh, and the potential in this business, potential of the revenue, are you limited? What's your limitation in this business?
Yeah. What's the limitation in the business? I don't know. That's a good question. I've never been asked that. What is the limitation? Because when you go online, uh, and a system can work 24 hours for you, a lot of limits are kind of lifted by themselves. Believe me, I loved my speaking career. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I absolutely miss it, right? I really did enjoy it. It didn't seem like work for me at all, right? Like
Yeah,
I was never stressful. Like I enjoyed going to different cities, different countries, being in front of new audiences, all of that stuff. But there's always there's only so much speaking you can do. It's based
yeah,
on the number of people that show up, the
yeah,
events that can be put in and all of that stuff. when you have a system, an online system in play, then really the only limitation is, I guess, your internet connection, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
That's the only thing. You would
Right.
freak out if your phone internet is not working and your house internet is not working. But other than that, I mean, this is pretty good. And once you learn the things and you apply them, and even if it takes you 3 to 5 years to build the kind of organization and business that you want to build, I think it's absolutely worth it. But come in with a long-term view, not what am I going to do next month? I don't think that's the right mindset. I think you want to come in that you want to establish something and build something for the future.
Yeah, and nothing stop you from expanding actually in this online space, because the word itself is our market, right? Like, it's not like if you're growing any let's talk offline business, you're limited to your physical presence. You can extend to one branch to branch or do a franchise, but it's a lot of committed hour. It's a lot of stress doing that. But here with the system that's 90% built for us, and reaching an audience worldwide, partnering with people that helping us, building our online business. I think there's no limitation unless the person himself or herself in this business.
Yeah.
That's great.
And there's something that you mentioned, and I wanna kind of just hint on that. My wife has been talking to my daughter. My daughter's 12 years old, as I mentioned, and we keep asking her, what is it that you want to do, right? And all of that stuff. And we're giving her space to make her choices and see where her mind goes and everything like that. So she's been very much in love with animals, and she wants to be an exotic animal vet, and all that stuff. So, and that's great. I mean, we don't want to limit that. At the same time, to me as a parent, I'm kind of going online, I'm checking, I'm like, okay, how much do vets make? What is the salary and all of that stuff, right? So here's where I'm going with the thinking, and my wife and I, we talked about this as well. That let's just say that my daughter pursues that, and she goes in and she loves animals and she wants to do that. So it's a passion of hers, and she wants to exercise that. That's great. You can do your job for a passion. That is totally fine, but you still got to do something to make money. Right? Because passion cannot always translate into money, into dollars. You may like a profession that doesn't necessarily pay. That doesn't mean that you don't need to go in there, but at least put other things in place to do it. My daughter had to do a presentation in class and talk about what she's planning to do in the future. She's like, well, I love animals, so I would love to be an exotic pet animal, but I'm also going to take that money and invest it so that my money makes money for me, right? And this kind of conversation from a class, I'm like, that is awesome from a 12-year-old. You plant the seeds. My wife and I were talking about that if she goes down this route, we're thinking we're probably going to want to own vet clinics, right? Why are we thinking that? Is so that, yes, she is going to exercise her passion, but she also has a business in place that she can manage, right? And the businesses can run without her. So the whole idea is that, again, I'm going to come back to that. The world has changed, and we have to start thinking differently. And we have to think outside the box, not only just for our sake, but also for our future, for our kids and their kids, and so on and so forth.
People are being replaced by robotics, right? You go to Walmart, there's how many people lost their job? The cashier is robotic. You go to Dollarama now, the same thing. Sooner or later, if you don't, keep tracking the fast development of the technology, you'll be left behind. So we have to adapt, and we have to open our minds, learn, to be capable to generate and grow as well. Raza, that was really, really great to have you today. I forgot to mention earlier when I started this interview was supposed to be hosted with my husband Aladdin, but unfortunately he has an emergency, so he had to be absent from this business chat. Raza, would you like to add anything before closing this chat?
Listen, we live in a world right now where we have to take risks. We have to decide, we have to make decisions, and we have to make decisions fast. You're not always going to make the right decision, but that doesn't mean that you have to stop from making decisions. Because when you stop from making decisions, that in itself is a decision. So please be bold, be courageous, and do things out of the ordinary and take the path less traveled. So
very well said. Very well said. You know, fear is a normal reaction whenever we're starting any new project, because we know we still didn't experiment. We don't know the outcome, and the fear is really a normal human reaction. But our role is to control our fear. If we want to go to the light, if we want, I always love this comparison. If we want to go to the light, if we want to bloom like a flower, we need to push throughout the dirt, right? The seed won't bloom out if it doesn't push throughout the dirt. We have to push out through our fears, our stress, our anxiety, do our due diligence. The internet is a great tool in between our hands to research anything we're planning to do, right? And if fear is the only reason that's stopping us from taking the next step, we should close our ears, open our eyes, open our heart, and just take the step forward. Yeah.
Courage.
Thank you so much.
That's what's needed.
Thank you so much, Raza. It was absolute pleasure being with you today. Let me just take advantage before closing to say thank you for all the followers who were watching live. Azza, Najat, Iram, Love, Kimberly, Hina, Nicole, Samantha, Tisam. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the very next Go Live. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Raza.
Bye.
Bye.